So this morning, I made a terrible mistake. Before I'd even made my tea, I opened my inbox on my email account here at the channel, and inside was a press release. Oh, yay! A press release from Forbes Advisor. Apparently EVs are super expensive and it'll take a lot of time and miles before you can even consider making up the difference in purchase cost between the two. I mean, never mind you or your kids having a livable planet that's reasonably pleasant to live on, we'll just breezily skip over that because I'm sure that's not important. No, concentrate on the cost issue. What? Why are you opening up a spreadsheet? Don't concentrate that hard. The maths doesn't work if you look that hard. No. Yeah. It's time for another FUDBusting. But first, didn't know what time it was. The lights were low. Oh, I was about to upload the show. Oh, some folks were laying up some EV news and called it 10. Now there's a new sub, I can see their likes. If they check their preferences, they'll get notified as soon as TE's next video goes live. Okay, thanks to our viewers for that suggestion. Transport Evolved's proprietary blend of fresh as daisy news, reviews and context is supported by viewers like you and by me murdering song lyrics that have been murdered by viewers. So, if you'd like me to stop or continue, hang out till the end of the video and I'll tell you how you can support the channel. We've busted a lot of fear, uncertainty and doubt over the years, from how long EV batteries last,
a long time,
what happens to them at the end of their life,
they're reused,
to the claim that all the energy to power them comes from burning kittens. I mean, coal.
No, it doesn't!
It's been an entertainingly awful time in the world of press releases and things that, with a significant stretch, people like to call studies. At this point, nary a week goes by without some novelty mathematics that would get you an F in any country's exams because all you've done is make up some numbers and stick them together on the paper. Meaningless garbage that if you skim over it superficially will make for some nice clickbait headlines. Last week, it was a delightful little ditty from Footman James, who, incidentally, used to be my insurance company back when I lived in the UK. Every few years, I'd take photos of my freshly washed and polished car, send it to them along with an estimate of its value, and they'd... well, my response wasn't unlike Nikki's when they replied.
Stop laughing! Stop laughing at me!
Anyhow, last week, Footman James cheerfully published and again, I'm going to use this word super loosely, an analysis of emissions from classic cars versus modern cars. And look, I love classic cars. I dragged my Morris Minor across the ocean to be with me in the US. My wife endured many breakdowns in the Vauxhall Viva that I had to cover for my Minor while she, my car that is, was off being restored because I didn't want to drive a modern car. And she, my wife that is, endured a variety of trips abroad that ended up with the Automobile Association sending us home in a rental vehicle and my beloved classics following along on a flatbed truck because they'd broken down in some far-flung place. And the reason that I used to drive classics, other than that I adore them and I love the design aspect, is that I could excuse it because Greenpeace said that keeping an old car on the road was cleaner than buying and running a new one. And when you were going from a car that managed maybe 35 miles per gallon from the 1960s to an 80s car that was still likely naturally aspirated and probably only got 25 to 30 miles per gallon, that made sense. But gradually fossil fuel powered vehicles got somewhat less immediately polluting, although with the mileage as I did in Britain, the maths probably still more or less held true until EVs came along. Now we've done the maths in videos so many times before and we'll pop a link up there or down in the description if I just waved at nothing for you to our full FUDBusting playlist because I'm not going to rehash it here because we know that EVs are cleaner. How much and how quickly is debated, but somewhere between 16 and 30,000 miles, 20 to 48,000 kilometers if you're using fairly clean electricity. But in this case, the Footman James report makes the mind-blowingly ridiculous comparison between a classic car travelling 1,200 miles a year and the production of a brand new EV or a new gas car. I mean, what does that comparison even tell you? Nothing useful. It just generates a clickbait headline, and then a bunch of classic car enthusiasts who I love and respect end up quoting garbage at me, and we get into upsetting and tedious arguments rather than looking at the pretty car. Rather than getting into a more appropriate argument over the fact I'm ripping out the delicious 4-cylinder A-series, or be it in my case a more modern A+, and putting in a bunch of batteries and a motor. I mean, that's what we should be arguing about, preservation versus usability of classics. Oh, and then Footman James makes some offhand comment about batteries in EVs not lasting very long and needing replacement, because all classic cars definitely still have their original engine. It's not like Rebecca's on at least her third engine at all now, is it? Or indeed that she needed oil changes every 6,000 miles, which, when Rebecca and I were travelling distances that even an econobox would struggle to keep up with, meant that every nth weekend was spent on a cold floor watching black treacly oil run out of the sump. And I guess, I don't know, why just stop with one piece of information? Let's throw them all in. And this week it's the motoring analysts at Forbes Advisor who are deeply concerned, I mean, very interested in the fact that interest in Britain in EVs has more than doubled since the beginning of June. That follows on, unsurprisingly, from the fact that the cost to fill a gas car has now topped £100 in the UK, roughly $120, as of the time of writing. They suggest that instead of buying an EV, you should sign up to a fuel loyalty program, which means you'd be tied to one specific company generally, gonna make it harder to price shop there, and switch your insurer, which it seems to think you couldn't do in an EV, and car share, and drive carefully, and make sure your tyres are properly inflated, all of which would also save you money in an EV, and none of which are going to save you the kind of money on fuel that an EV will in the long run. And in this case, just as we saw a couple of weeks back, they've compared the average cost of an EV with the cost of a cheap gas car. In this case, the example they discuss is the price difference between the Corsa and the Corsa E, with the retail prices in the UK of 17k and change and 27k and change. But using this cost difference in point number 1, and then in point number 2 doing a quick bait and switch and instead using the difference in average prices, means that instead of a price difference being about £10,000, it's £27,000. And then just to put the bovine byproduct frosting on the cat litter cake, they only include the fuel price in their difference calculation, because all you ever pay for in a gas car is fuel. You don't have to pay for oil and oil filter changes and air filters and fuel line filters and changing cam belts. No, that's all free. So when they run the, and apologies to this word, the calculation, they can come up with a ridiculous number of miles that you'd have to cover. We know it's wrong, you know it's wrong, and to be honest, they likely know it's wrong, and if they don't, they should. And we know why they exclude maintenance costs, because as soon as you do the actual sums, as soon as you actually put in more than a cursory glance, these numbers break down spectacularly. The maintenance cost on an EV is some wiper blades, some screen wash and tyres now and then, and no, we've already busted the FUD on tyres wearing out super quickly on EVs, so don't bother going all shouty bob in the comments. Just click the link in the description below or up there to find out why that particular piece of disinformation is indeed fake news. So, and this little ditty goes out to the press folks out there. Maybe stop misleading people with this absolute garbage. Stop filling people's inboxes with rubbish that's just designed to line the pockets of oil companies. And really, if you want us to cover your company, why not give us a positive story that's actually based in real scientific datable and repeatable experiments, not a random hand wave to some other equally terrible study. And to our lovely Transport Evolved viewers, if you've received some dubious studies in your inbox and want it shown in our gallery, don't hesitate to pop it on a postcard and address it to Transport Evolved Disinformation Gallery, 7325 North East Imbride Drive, number 513, Hillsboro, Oregon 97124. That's in the USA for all you lovelies abroad. The best entries will be picked each week and shared with viewers around the world. I'm afraid we can't return your disinformation. I mean studies. Oh, and if you'd like to send us other things there, you can do that too. Although Nikki has told me that the folks at the post office say, please don't send us any more sentient clouds of gas. We have enough problems as it is with the one that we have. That's it for today. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back soon with more. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to leave your thoughts below or in our free to join Discord chat room. There is a link down there in the video description. If you want a more generalised news roundup in the world of cleaner, greener, safer and smarter vehicles, check out our news roundup show every weekend, and don't forget we produce videos every single day on this network for you to enjoy, ranging from deep dives and features to tutorials, unboxings and reviews. And if you haven't already, make sure you've subscribed to this channel and our other channel, Transport Evolved Take 2, and give the bell a gentle ring to make sure you're told when our next video goes live. Thanks on behalf of the entire TE crew go out to the folks on my right. They are our $15 to $49 a month supporters. Special thanks to our $50 a month patrons Chris Maxwell, Pedro Mura Pinheiro, Patrick Boyarski, Bennett Elder, Brian Newton, David Kitchen, Michael Goad, Ricky Leong, Andrew Martin, Guido Drahota, Brophy Wolf, Tessa in the Gong, Gordon C., Stephen O'Donoghue, Kyle Hodgson, Anthony Coates, Regine Fellow, Rory Litwin, Jim Burness, Chris Ascenta, Chris and Michael Johnson, Peter Dillinger and Denny Hyde. And our deepest gratitude to our $100 a month Patreon supporters, Anonymous Freak, Marcel Ward, Reggie Watts, Joe Bresney, Reed R, JP Fagerback, Russ, John Lyons, Will Grayland, Matthew Drobnak, Christopher Lee Jones, Andrew Glenn, Paul Conway, Laura Reynolds, Ellery Hensley, and, of course, Ian. Want to be part of that amazing list? You can join Patreon at the link below, hit the join button below to support us on YouTube, or show us your support through Ko-fi or our cool swag store. Links are all down there. And if you're unable to support us financially, just know that watching the video and sharing it really makes a difference to our ad revenue and keeping the algorithm contained. I have a monitor now. It's safely trapped in its little box. Why is it in the red? Why is it in the red? You know what? Thanks for joining me. And keep evolving. I gotta go. I'll just be. There's a new fan waiting in disguise. They'd like to come and meet us, but they think they'll blow our minds. There's a new fan waiting in disguise. Nikki's told us not to blow it because she knows it's all worthwhile. I'm sorry, David.